All right, now I think it might be some time to start learning about our next program. Okay, are you ready? Because this next program, we have some really, it's I think one of the most popular programs, among the undergrad students who are interested in language and culture. Because this is the Bachelor programs in language and culture, or BALAC program. And here with us, we have Kun Pragon Tongdi, which is the BALAC student president, second year, and he's going to talk about what it's like to study at BALAC. Kun Pragon, take it away, please.
Thank you ครับokay first of all สวัสดีครับ Hello I'm PPK and I am the current BALAC Student Board President. Before we get to the FQA, let's talk about something that I think is more grounded in reality and hope that this sparks your curiosity to our program. I will talk about something that you won't find from just exploring our webpage in a perspective of a BALAC student and how a BALAC student think. I'm sure that all of you joining us today is looking for an answer, something along the lines of why BALAC? Why the Bachelor of Arts in Language and Culture? What's significant about BALAC? Or what future potential careers can a degree take you to? Especially in times like these, people tend to lose their life purpose, where probably some of you even go to the extent of questioning whether, why university? Why further studies? Well, ironically and personally, my answer to those questions lies in the simplicity of the phrase, I don't know. The only answer I could come up with before joining this program 2 years ago is that I enjoy learning the process and the connection of a civilization, learning the different culture and tradition the world has to offer for us. But aside from that, even after working as a student person for this degree for almost 2 years now, speaking to various students about our program, speaking to various organizations about our program, I still haven't figured out on what I want to be or what I wanted to do from what I'm studying, or how liberal arts will help my life significantly. Even before planning what I have to say for this monologue, I was even staring at the BALAC screen homepage for over 5 minutes, thinking of a starting point drawn from something related to the course. But then I realized something, and that's the point of my speech today. So let me tell you something, a little bit about my story. So over the past 2 years, my life passion has changed significantly. It changed like a whirlwind. Some passion started from the depth of my own imagination, and some from opportunities I was granted in life. I got to experience a variety of tryouts that I both enjoy and don't. But one thing I realized was in common was my approach to these jobs and my view and perspective towards it. I think the Bachelor of Arts in Language and Culture gives you a wide and unlimited view on their understanding of life as an individual, life as a community, and life as a civilization. Us Balakians are constantly being faced with new cultural and societal perspective in life, and it allows us to adapt and equip the skills we have to apply to our own life, whether through the understanding of our history, culture, gender, language, and the list goes on. The beauty of our program lies in the versatility of the course offered. It's a cultural studies course with many, many flavors, and I'll explain why. Cultural language culture, for instance, allows me to understand the different interpretation of language and learn that even English as a universal language has depth and levels in conveying different meaning and connotation. In one of my year 2 language culture course, we learned that there are many metaphorical sense to one sentence. Depending on the structure, you can convey a completely different message, meaning from one another. And this applies to my recent startup in making my very own snack that is a blend between truffle and Thai-inspired herbs. Well, I'm still in the process of trials and errors on the flavor, but I'm also ahead on thinking of the name and of the brand and the slogan. And through learning this language culture course, I've realized that one slogan could bring out its literal and figurative meaning that is impeccable to the consumer. Literal being the exact meaning, and figurative is more of a metaphorical twist to it. Let me give you an example. If you're launching a product as a mayonnaise or mayonnaise in Thai, and if your slogan is bring out the best, its literal meaning could be that the mayonnaise enhances the flavor, and its figurative could be that it brings your most deliciousness to the table. So when the consumer tries out the mayonnaise, their initial thought could be that, yes, it do actually enhance its flavor. And with the slogan being bring out the best, it could also drive them to think that this might actually be the best dish on the table, which could convey two messages. Like I said, there are many more towards the concept which I have learned to apply to my own startup, which is one of my passion. Aside from that, gender studies, for instance, open up a lens towards a perspective in the queer community that I never know before. That all gender in our world is doing gender. But what is doing gender exactly? Doing gender is basically conforming to the gender you want society to perceive you as. Whether through your masculinity, femininity, the way you conduct yourself, the way you dress, etc. And even the LGBTQ individuals have to conform to a stereotypical sense of masculinity or femininity that is tolerable to our society. And not just these individuals, but also men and women. I recently was a part of a music video with other dancers. One of them identified herself as queer. And I later know and figured this out after talking to her on social media and following her. But she later told me that she wanted to wear a suit on the set instead of a dress. But the producers insist that a dress is most appropriate for women. By this, she is doing gender by forecasting herself as a complete woman, showing femininity through her clothing, the way she dressed, allowing others around her to perceive or interpret her as a full woman. And without talking to her, you won't even realize that she's part of the LGBTQ community. So when gender is an accomplishment, when gender is an accomplishment of something that is acceptable by our society, where lies diversity? This sparks my curiosity on whether all industries are perceived like this, and is there a room for change? Not only allows us to explore the dance community even more, but also it wants me to explore further gender studies to why the world works like this. Taking everything in consideration, it may look like my passion is still vague, which I think it is. But I want you to look at the approach and my perspective to my usual passion. I think that the versatility of our course allows you to explore anything around you in a wider, greater perspective. I can't directly answer you where BALAC can take you to, but I can describe it in one word that is commonly used by our students, which is diverse. Not only our cultural focus will allow you to explore the word diversity, but our provided minors like the media minor, the global, and language can definitely bring you to various further studies. Which one might be right for you? A lot of our graduates go out and finish their masters in marketing, education, food nutrition, sociology, you name it. Which some of these may seem far, far away from BALAC. But trust me, one thing our graduates have in common is the curiosity, the creativity from what they've learned that has inspired them to make a difference in these careers. I can even imagine myself going to politics after discovering the actual roots of the Thai royals in Thai history. I can imagine myself going to various fields, that I think starts from my curiosity that I discovered from learning at BALAC. So I think it's okay if you don't know what to do or what to be or still finding answers. I won't guarantee for you that BALAC will take you somewhere, but I can tell you that BALAC does provide you more than one definite answer of what you want to do in your career or life. So how do you apply? You basically go to our website, BALAC website, and there will be an application form in our website for you. Make sure to check the deadlines of each application and make sure that you apply in time for the first and second round. The first round is an emphasis on the interview. So basically, you just need to apply with your high school test. Your high school degree or high school equivalency test, and your other equivalency test, SAT, CUAT, And the first round is an emphasis on the interview, and then the second round is both interview and there will be another test on essay. So make sure you prepare for that. And one thing I would like to remind all of you today is that please get your equivalency test as soon as possible, as our program BALAC might be closing our application form sooner than other programs due to that we have to prepare for our essay. So please get your degree. Please get your equivalency test as soon as possible so you are prepared and you're not in a rush when the deadline is near. So that's it for my speech. Let's now move on to first year president Ivy and director Tankunia to talk about the actual FQA or what questions are commonly asked in a degree. You know, whether about double degree, um, anything that's directly related to our course. We'll be answering that very soon. ขอบคุณครับ Hello ครับอาจารย์กุนิยา and Ivy can you hear me
Hey, PK, what's up?
Hello ครับสวัสดีครับ
Hello. So
Hello
when listening to that, that was really inspiring. I hear a lot about gender studies. Was that? I don't think I'm learning that in second year, I think. So
yeah
I
it's a
don't know
thing
anything about it yet. But yeah, so we see that it's really broad, right? PPK already kind of touched on that bit, but maybe we should hear from Adan Kunia, who's been here for some time now about BALAC, because I think a lot of people have certain misconceptions about the faculty itself, the program, about what BALAC is. So maybe we could hear about that a bit more from Adan Kunia.
definitely
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you guys for helping us out today first. Obviously. But what basically like with our program, one of the most common misconceptions that we have about our program is that, we're just like the Thai undergrad program at the faculty. But we are, as you guys know by now, mostly a like cultural studies type program. And yes, we may have like languages and media and globalization, but at our heart, we're a cultural studies program. And so if you are looking to like super specialize in one language or another, then honestly, you may need to you may find maybe happier in the standard Thai program who would go a lot deeper into like language skills and things like that. But for us, we tend to be looking at cultural studies, looking at the kind of things that PK was just talking about before. And in general, we focus on either a foreign language, media, or global cultures or globalization. And in general, our program's designed to open up like many different potentials for your future, like creating a more understanding of cultures and which is like a basis that influences the way people think and the way people see the world around them. And that's why it's so valuable in many different fields, because you need understanding of the way people think in everything from development as like community development to marketing, or even to military intelligence, should you decide to go in that particular direction. And that's why our recent graduates have gone into many different varying fields, from education as like teaching at an international school, working for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, working in various different types of media, some visual media, some written media. Some have even started their own businesses. And in general, if you still don't know, or if you want more specialized knowledge afterwards, well, our program is also a good basis from which to launch yourself into a more specialized master's degree, because an appreciation of how culture can impact the way people think will be of great benefit when you go to a more specialized degree, like say things like marketing, or pure sociology, anthropology, or other social science or humanities type courses.
Okay, so that's a really like comprehensive idea on like what BALAC is and about the program in general. But also one thing I might want to add as a first year student, I feel like a lot of the prospective students might feel they want to know this is I hear a lot from my peers about first year being maybe not what they exactly expected, because some of them have an idea on like liberal arts and perhaps like, okay, what they're going to study, but they didn't know that before we go into like certain subjects, we're also going to be studying a lot of compulsory courses that are kind of like a foundation on like, let's say, writing, reading, that those skills are going to aid us in studying further into the fields, which PPK did mention about the three concentrations. And again, this is really interesting to me also because we'll be choosing the concentrations in second year. Adan Kunaya, could you also perhaps like give us more like details, like as a professor, like from your perspective, like what the three concentrations are and how they might like be utilized by the students if they choose it?
Okay, sure, of course. Well, for us, in the first years, as you found out by now, Ivy, that these are generally more the foundational type courses where it's getting people used to studying at a university, giving you all the skills that you need, things like academic writing, giving you some basic theory courses, um, and some basic language courses. Now, some people might wonder, like, well, if you're already planning on doing media or global culture, why do you need basic language courses? Well, as I've mentioned, like language can impact the way that you see the world. Different languages have different ways of categorizing people and things, have a different ways of expressing the world. And having some knowledge, having a basic understanding of a third language is beneficial into just giving you a glimpse into how language might impact people's view on the world. Like, let's give an example of pronouns. In English, you can't really refer to a third person without using a pronoun or without saying something about their gender identity. Be it like he, she, they, but rather when we're talking in Thai, it's kun, tan, ge, mung. There's no gender there, but there's social directionality. It's impossible to refer to a third person in Thai without referring to how much higher or lower you are than that person socially. And the question comes up then, well, what exactly does that do to the way people see the world? What is that constant reminder of social hierarchy or constant reminder of gender have on people? So that's why like we get all first years to learn a bit of language of their choice, providing that there are other people who want to do it too. But once you've got through that first year, then from your second year onwards, you get a choice of 3 concentrations. First one is foreign language, although there is a minimum number requirement for each language. So if not enough people wanting to go on to that language for their concentration, then unfortunately we can't offer that. But in general, in the language concentration, you will learn more language skills of that language, and you'll also learn about all the cultural norms and cultural practices relating to that particular language. So like, for example, if you learn Spanish, then you also learn about Spanish culture, but not just culture of Spain, but the culture of Latin America also. In media culture, it's more to do with, media analysis and interpretation of texts. Now, texts for high school students might just sound like text, the thing that you send to people, the thing you read. But at university, things get a bit weird. Text is anything that can be interpreted. So, books are text, movies are text, TV series are text, advertising are text, everything is text, basically. Anything that can be interpreted as like in the media form can be text. Then the next one is global culture, where you will learn more of a cultural perspective on globalization, right? Study the impact that globalization, past, present, and future, have had and will have on our cultures. Like the very fact that international programs exist is because of cultural globalization. The very fact that English is somehow seen as an international language, as seen as the world's lingua franca, even though lingua franca means language of the Franks, not language of the English. Like, what are the roots of that? Why did that come from? Like, those are the kind of things that we'll be exploring, in addition to some specific more area studies type courses also. And aside from these, you also have a chance to learn a lot of general cultural studies courses, like introduction to anthropology, technology and culture, science and culture, for example.
So that's like one thing actually that I think is a big appeal of like also why I chose to apply to BALAC. Like it might be a bit intimidating to someone hearing this for the first time, but actually what Ajahn Kunia is also demonstrating, maybe not intentionally, is just how broad a BALAC is, because that's only like one part of like what BALAC can offer. And I feel like if you really look through the courses or perhaps like talk and listen to what other people have to say, you'll find that there are really a variety of people here that are interested in vastly different like courses and studies, but they all come here because they think that the nuance in like the broad subjects that are offered here can be found in whatever the faculty the program has to offer. And so because there is such a variety of people, I think another question that people applying might be curious about is, what is the general atmosphere? Maybe perhaps in a professor's perspective, it might be different from, a student.
Well, that's a good thing you add that qualification, because as much as I hate to admit it, I'm older now. Not old, I still refuse to admit that, but I am older. But like in many universities, the classroom atmosphere can vary widely depending upon the professor. And for me now, some people might think that it shouldn't be standardized in some way, but for me, I think that's a good thing, because when you go to work in the future, you're not going to be working with a standardized type of people. You're going to be working with a lot of people, a lot of bosses. But in general, though, in BALAC, you can expect a lot of group work for things like presentations, or some cases maybe short films in a rare case, and your standard everyday lectures, of course. But in general, in my classes and in my professor friends' classes, at least, the lectures can also be quite interactive, as in students are free to just raise their hand, stop the lecture for a second, ask the lecturer to repeat a point or something, or ask for clarification. And then maybe like small discussions during the lecture themselves also. Basically, like if you're the kind who likes to speak in class, likes to have discussions, then I think you'll be really happy in a BALAC lecture. Oh, also expect to write a lot.
Yes.
Like PK, how many essays have you had for your midterms?
Couldn't recall, but it was a lot. It was definitely a lot.
Things
Yes.
to look out.
Like normally,
yes.
Go on.
I think I would like to also share my experience in a classroom perspective that's aside from a professor's perspective, but also from a year two perspective. Like I think I'm the middle shot between a pandemic and a pre-pandemic. Like I was at least given the opportunity to have a few classes online. Like when it was my my first semester in BALAC, BALAC 13, my own generation, still had a few classes on site. And I feel like as BALAC students, one thing we have in common is the interaction in class. Like even if it's online or on site, I could still see students, my classmates, even myself, being vocal about our own opinions, sharing what we love, sharing our own thoughts, sharing very expressively. And I think that's one beauty that about BALAC that all our students are equipped with. And not only in a classroom environment, I often see my friends and even me sharing, like raising awareness for different causes on social media, calling out, various things that goes through a critical thinking mindset that I think BALAC offers you as a degree. Oftentimes I would see posts from my students, even from myself, sharing on different causes where they'll be sharing their own opinions on it. And I feel like that's great as a community because it shows that as a community, as BALAC, we're very vocal, we're very expressive, we're not afraid to share our own opinions, and that's very interactive. So what I have, my message to the upcoming BALAC students or BALAC 15 that will be joining us very soon, I suppose, is that your environment between online and on-site in terms of interaction between professors and students and your classmates won't differ that much, in my own opinion. We'll go on and ask Ivy about her experience, but in my own opinion, in my experience, I feel like the interaction is still on par with on-site. It may differ a little bit by, like, I guess, not much, but I still feel like I was able to interact with classmates through like breakout rooms. Oftentimes we would think that breakout rooms are a session where like students will just mute and we're not going to talk to each other. But for my own, maybe my group working in every class might be a little active, but my group, for instance, we like to share our own thoughts. We like to discuss about what's being offered to us in class, and I think that's very fun and that's great as a community. And also, I think that in various courses, there are topics that BALAC students in general really like to talk about and really like to explore, like gender studies, for instance. Like in my gender studies class, we were able to share various stuff that is very relatable to our daily life, and that's why I think we're very vocal about it. And I think that the interaction in class is, for me, is still good as online. What about you, Ivy? What's your experience?
I mean, of course, like at first, some people were hesitant to interact because we're meeting the first time online. But after a while, I think everyone's kind of settled in. It's still unfortunate that it's online, even if people are more comfortable with like, expressing their thoughts. And again, I feel like my year is pretty similar in that aspect, in that people feel that pretty comfortable expressing their ideas, they're pretty vocal, but just it's been fully online. And I feel like it probably even if everyone's kind of adapted, lots of people would still prefer to, if possible, go on site, which next year very likely that BALAC 15 will get the opportunity to come on site, and I'll be one of the people first welcoming you to our faculty as a student body. So very interesting, very excited for that.
Yeah, hopefully, if everything goes well, everything continue getting better. Hopefully. Like hopefully. I can't see the future because if I could, I would have bought Bitcoin back in 2009. But yeah, like that's the thing with our program is that with the majority of our ajans, we don't care about your politics. We don't care what you believe in. We just want you to express them as we want you to be able to express them in the most robust way as possible. That we don't care about what your thoughts are as they are well constructed and like well supported. But at the end of the day, that's what makes a good citizen. People, making informed decisions and expressing informed, well-constructed opinions, regardless of what those opinions are.
I feel like
And
what Atan Kunia
yeah,
just said, just adding in a bit in the middle, listen very carefully because this can also be taken as interview advice for your interviews here coming in here.
yes, that. Okay, just one big thing first. Don't read pre-prepared statements because even if it's online, we can tell. Like we can tell when your eyes go across the screen like this as you are reading a statement about yourself, and also when you are reading, your voices tends to go very flat, and it's super obvious when you are reading something. Like, just be yourself and express, who you are, because we want to get to know you. We want to get to know if you would be happy here at BALAC. So a few other tips. If you say in your SOP that you are passionate about something, you better be passionate about that thing, because we will expect you to be able to talk at length about that thing. Like year BALAC 11 president P Junior, he is super into public transit, but if you bring that up with him, he'll be able to talk hours and hours and hours on that topic. So that, like, if you say you're passionate about something, then you should be able to talk to your passion, and don't be afraid that we might think your passion is, what's the English word, like ไร้สาระ or like a nonsensical or something. Like, oh, but I like playing games. Great, me too. But well, why? What do games mean? Like, what is the relationship between a game system and the story? How does a first or a third person view in a game affect your storyline? What is the narrative differences between a linear game, like, let's say, Doom Eternal, and an open world game, like, let's say, Far Cry 6 or 5 or 4 or 3 or 2 or 1. Yeah. So that sort of thing, like, just, own the thing you're passionate with, and as long as you can talk about it, that will be fine. And related to that, be prepared to answer a lot of why or how questions. Oh, Ivy seems to be having a bit of a reaction to that.
I'm just thinking about my interview, but
Sure
well,
right?
you'll see when you apply. You'll see when you apply, guys. So yeah, apply. We want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
And yeah,
yes.
but my last important thing: study about the program, like, know what you're trying to get yourself into, and don't try to be what you think we want you to be. Be yourself. Don't try to say that you like things that you don't really like just because that's what we want you to hear, that sort of thing. Just be yourself, be cool.
Yes. Like,
Yeah,
as
PK?
embarrassing as it is, even my own speech, I mentioned that I like culinary and I like, to explore something that's more on the entertainment industry field. And, that's not even related to Bala. I mean, the media culture might be, but cultural as an overall image might not exactly relate to what my passion is or what I like to do in general. But I could still approach or relate to it to an extent. And I feel like that's why BALAC is so broad. It's there for you to also explore other opportunities in life while being able to, gain skills. อาจารย์กุณยาครับ I would like to also ask one common question that we often get every year at our open house is that what's after BALAC? Like, what can students expect, or what students do after BALAC? What's their job? And like, in a 21st century world where it's full of innovation, it's full of technology, and we're studying humanities. Like, how does that correlate to each other? Like, I have my own answer, but you want me to share mine first?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay. So I think that BALAC as a degree, first year will really you're gonna feel that you're gonna be challenged by critical thinking. You're forced to have critical thinking skills. You're forced to analyze text. You're forced to analyze news articles. You're forced to analyze readings that is sometimes beyond your comprehension in high school. And I think that is a very a skill that I think is able to utilize in real life. You're able to critically think and critically analyze things very quickly, very advanced. And I feel like innovation needs to come with critical thinking skills and also creativity. And I think that BALAC as a degree, as a cultural degree that explores various fields like media, global, and language, allows you to have critical thinking and creativity in these fields where you could apply to whatever you want to do next in life or after BALAC. Like for instance, a lot of our graduates, like recent graduates, are Lun P, finish their masters in education, and they're now like a tutor. They're now like teaching students in different language schools. And the one thing I see is that aside from having ordinary courses like the SATs, IELTS, standardized tests, they provide students with these like cultural courses, like like what's with the 21st century, or how to be a 21st century student type of course. And I feel like these stuff is what they've learned from BALAC and that could be applicable to students that took course with them. Not only students are able to gain knowledge from this course that is applicable to their interviews in like might be ComArt, BBA or whatever, but it could also apply to, I think, various courses too. So yeah, I think BALAC does offer critical thinking skills and creativity that allows you to go out there and explore anything in life.
Yeah, exactly. And like, our students have found work in like a whole lot of different fields. As you mentioned before, like education, but also in a lot of them have gone into the business world.
ปริ้นหน่อยค่ะเพราะว่า
And
โน้ตบุ๊กปริ้นไม่ได้
and also oh, who was that? Anyway, I've gone into like the business world also, and some have gone into their own business, became very successful entrepreneurs themselves. And on the question of innovation, well, there can also be cultural and social innovation also. But the most important thing, I would like to quote Dr. Ian Malcolm, or otherwise known as Jeff Goldblum, from the film Jurassic Park. Your scientists are so busy thinking about what they could, they never stop to think if they should. And I think that's what like social science and humanities brings to the table when it comes to innovations, is that when people think of things to do, they never think about consequences of like the social and cultural consequences of the things that they can do. Like we can just see from some of the current scandals with Facebook. Oh, okay, Meta now, I guess.
Yes.
But like there are all the scandals about their information, or them finally deleting people's facial recognition data. Like anybody who is conversant or in the in the field surrounding like cultures can tell you that people are going to like push back on the idea of their faces being captured every single where. And like people find that, or that making things less repairable will cause people to push back in terms of the right to repair movement. And also another thing is that a lot of these big tech companies have started to recognize the like the need for a more cultural or social scientific approach. Like a lot, like companies like Google, for example, have started hiring anthropologists to work for them in order to, as a way to look into their what do you call it, their human interfaces, because when you're designing app interfaces, you need to design it in a ways to which, like, well, how exactly does somebody touch something, like how, as in like well, if you design the interface this way, well, how exactly would somebody like interact with this app? Is there a way to design it better to make it more natural for human interaction? How do we design our social media to be more social so that people would use it for their cultural expression? Like, there's a lot of like new social media sites that came up, like TikTok and whatnot, but there are also a ton others who died in flames of failure because there wasn't picked up by the cultural zeitgeist, just wasn't picked up by people. But okay, I think we should end soon because I think we're about to eat into the next group's time.
So just to summarize a bit, like, so we hear a lot. You might be very intimidated now by everything that's been said because there's a lot of details there, and you're just like, okay, where are we going with this? But basically, everything that's been said, that's like just one part of what you could get from BALAC, and from how like deep Ajahn Kurnia went into like his interest. You're also like another person who can explore your interests the same way should you come to like our program, and we would love to see you here. So yeah, thank you everyone for
talking Ajahns and nerds. But yeah, thank you guys thank you everyone for watching us. If you do want to contact us, we do have our presence on social media, on Facebook and Instagram. The students also have their own Instagram page that is completely controlled by them. So if they do something wrong, don't at me, at them. But also, we also have our website. Just Google BALAC Chula, BALAC space CHULA. But that's it from us. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much, PK and Ivy, for being here. So back to you, Mr. MC.
Thank you very much, Ajahn Kurnia, and thank you so much, Kun PK and Kun Ivy. Such a very nice talk. So we learned so much about this BALAC program, and also, it's more like a small mini class, so kind of a demonstration between the teacher and the students, kind of exchange the ideas and things. This is how we do it here. So we encourage you to come and enjoy. And what I learned from all of you three is that if you want to get into the BALAC program, make sure number one, and it's very, very important thing, is to be yourself. Don't try to pretend to be others. If you like some things, go ahead and tell them that you like it. Don't try to say something that the interviewers want to hear. So, all right. And second thing is to stay true to your passion. Whatever your passion is, so just speak up, say it, so that we can find ways, to make sure that if you're right for BALAC or not. So, but I'm sure by now you know that this is the right program for you. So please act now. Thank you very much.